This is a trophy that glitched on me, and it forced me to have to do an entire second playthrough. Painful. It's been another good month of high-quality trophy hunting. Welcome back to another one of these monthly update videos. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you all the trophies that I unlocked in September 2024, which includes a number of platinums, some new releases, and a new ultra rare platinum that I'm adding to the list. So I think we're just going to dive right into this. No large preamble here. Although I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait a minute, back there, buddy. Is that Garfield: The Search for Pookie complete in box in the Game Boy Advance? It is. So all my Garf heads can enjoy that one in the background. But for now, we're going to hop right on over into the list. If I can figure out where it is, boom. Here's everything starting at the beginning of September. For those that have watched this entire series as it's gone on, we left off in late August. I was working on the Doom 2016 Platinum, and I was just working my way through the campaign and such at that point. So we're going to pick it up right here, September 1st, with kill 10 enemies as a Spectre Demon in multiplayer. So actually, we should probably go a little further back. You can see I've done a lot of these multiplayer trophies in Doom. And so as I was working on the Platinum, there's also these like several expansions that came out for the game. I'm explaining this to you as if I'm not the last person in the world to learn this, because this is an 8-year-old game. But you'll have to forgive me. There's multiple expansions that came out that added, it seems like mostly multiplayer things. It also added some like arcade mode, ways to play and things like that, but primarily multiplayer. And so while I was working on the main list and trying to get the platinum, I was also trying to clean up all these DLC expansion trophies as well, because I tend to go for 100% on the games that I play. And so I was working on a lot of these, you know, using a taunt from a specific expansion, getting a multi-kill with the Spectre Demon, stuff like that. If you're not familiar, Doom 2016's multiplayer 1, pretty good, actually. It kind of reminds me of Halo multiplayer. I'd heard a lot of people in the past talk some trash about this multiplayer, and I do not understand that at all. I think it is super fun. And thankfully, it's still possible to get games every now and again. It's all against really good people, but it is possible. Especially on like Friday nights and Saturday nights. But anyways, so yeah, 1, really good multiplayer, but 2, it plays kind of like sort of vaguely Left 4 Dead in some ways. I mean, it is, everyone's just running around as like a Doom Marine shooting each other, but you can find these power-ups that will let you transform into one of the demons from Doom. And then Left 4 Dead style, you control that demon, you have a bunch more health than you typically would, you have a whole, you know, kit of special abilities, and you're usually much stronger. You know, it's kind of like a superpower. And so when a demon comes out on the map, you can still kill other players, but it is kind of all hands on deck to take down that demon. And so there's a lot of multiplayer trophies focused around getting specific kill counts, or under certain conditions getting kills as those different demons. So Harvester Demon, that one's really easy. That's a really strong one. Multi-kill with a Spectre I got pretty much right away. Yeah, it's a lot of this is just kind of like leveling up as you play through the campaign. You pretty much get like 1 to 2 levels per match, so it goes pretty fast. But there is a prestige system, Call of Duty style. So you'll go up to level, I think it's 50, and then you'll automatically prestige to like prestige 1, level 1. And there's 10 total prestige levels, so it would take a long time to grind them out. But anyways, I did a bunch of those multiplayer trophies. Then we did this arcade mode run, which is happening right up here. The arcade mode run is like a score-based multiplayer, and so you're playing through the single-player campaign levels, but it's like the faster you kill enemies and the more variety of ways that you kill enemies without taking damage, you'll build up score multipliers. And so there's just a couple of trophies you're going to have to go for. You got to get a gold rating, which is doing decently well. That's the second highest rating. You can actually get a Slayer ranking, which is better. 20 bonus lives or relic happens pretty naturally. And then this one, even though it's the first trophy I got, this is the one you have to kind of try the hardest for, and that's every medal. So there's 14 different medals in arcade mode, and they're all focused around like killing under certain conditions. And so, you know, getting an aerial takedown, you know, killing someone with an explosive, getting a multi-kill, getting a headshot. Those are all different ways to kill people, and you have to just make sure that you do all those in a single run. There's guides online, videos you can follow. It's really not that hard if you know what to do. And so I continued working on Doom multiplayer, you know, grinding out the kinetic mine kills, all that stuff. And then we get back to the main campaign. So fully upgrade all Praetor suit categories in a single campaign run. That is just one of the collectible types. I think I had found all but 2 of them in my original playthrough, so it was just kind of clean up in the like chapter select mode. Went ahead and got all that. We upgraded all of our runes, which is another collectible based one. Fully upgraded our health, armor, and ammo. Same thing, more collectibles, data logs, more collectibles, more collectibles. Mission challenges, I did all those, so every level has like 3 different like special challenges they want you to do, and they'll give you like upgrade points when you do them, but they're like killing certain enemies in certain ways, or finding a hidden area, or just doing something that's like a little atypical from what you would normally do. And those are actually pretty fun, and they're not too hard to get through. And then complete the UAC on Ultra Nightmare. So that is the very first level in the game. Ultra Nightmare is like the unlockable super hardest difficulty. This actually took me 4 or 5 runs through. I think this is probably the trophy that increases the difficulty in the trophy guide by like 1 or 2 points. It's like a 4 out of 10 or something like that. But it would be much easier if it weren't for that one, because that can be pretty dang difficult. It's like you can get shot from behind and pretty much get like insta-gibbed and not have any idea what went wrong. It's just completely out of your control. You have to take it really slow, cautious, know the level. But thankfully it's a very short level. It took me maybe like I said, 4 or 5 tries, maybe like an hour, if even. And then this painful one, earn all runes. So this is a trophy that glitched on me, and it forced me to have to do an entire second playthrough. Painful. So the way that this one works is hidden throughout Doom. There are these runes. Runes are sort of like, they're just kind of like modifiers to how you play. And so they'll make it so that you have more ammo, or have, additional ability to move when in the air. They're just like equipable bonuses, basically. And there's, I think, 14 throughout the game, and you can equip 3 at a time. And when you are exploring these single player levels, you will find these little rune portals that are hidden in there. And when you find a rune portal, you have to complete a challenge in order to get that rune unlockable. So the game will like pull up the menu and say, do you want to enter the challenge? And when you go to choose yes, it'll say entering this challenge will reset your progress for this level. And so I was cleaning up all the collectibles, including the runes, in my second playthrough of the game. And this, I was only missing 1 rune that I hadn't found naturally on my first playthrough. And so it's in one of the later levels, and it's found like halfway, maybe a little further than halfway into the level. And so when it popped up and said, do you want to do this now? It'll reset your progress. I said no, because there was other collectibles I needed to find in that level, and I wanted to go finish the collectibles in that level. And that's okay, because there's a separate rune challenge menu that you can choose outside of the mission, from the main menu, and go do any of the rune challenges that you've unlocked. And then once you do them there, they become available to use in the main campaign. So I was like, I'll just finish my collectibles in this level, then I'll hop back in and do that from the menu, get that trophy, be done. And so obviously I did finish all the collectibles, as you can tell from these earlier ones. And then I went into that menu, I replayed that challenge, or I played it for the first time, that challenge, finished it, and nothing happened. I did not get my trophy for earning all runes, even though I had just completed the last rune mission. And so I was like, oh no. So I was like, well, maybe it's because I did this one from the menu, and so I have to do all of them from the menu. And so I redid all the challenges. They're all only like 1 or 2 minutes. It took like 20 minutes to redo all of them. Nothing happened. Didn't pop. And so I went on the old Google. You know, you do your old desperate Reddit search, as we all are familiar with, oh god, this trophy didn't pop, why? And it turns out that that trophy in particular is buggy if you do any of the rune challenges from the menu. You have to do them all when you first discover them in the level, and then it will count guaranteed. And it seems to not be consistent for everyone. And to my credit, or in my defense, maybe, when I was looking at the trophy guide for this game, it just said that this is buggy. It didn't like specifically call that part out. And so when that didn't pop, I was like, oh no, because now I need to do an entire new run to get every single rune in the game. Thankfully-ish, there's only 14 levels, 12 levels, 13, something like that. But all the runes are found kind of in the middle block of levels. Like levels like 4 through 9 have all the runes. So I really only had to replay like 2/3 of the game, the first 2/3, to get that trophy. But it did take an extra like 3 hours. It was really disheartening when it happened. But I was too close to getting the platinum and I didn't want to give it up. And so I went back. You know, I spent a morning knocking out an additional playthrough, got all the runes in one run, popped that, and I was good to go. But glitched trophy pain, I'm sure you all understand. And so I finished Doom 2016. As folks know from a previous video, the way that I'm choosing platinums from my backlog to go back and clean up, or I shouldn't even say platinums, lists from my backlog to go back and get the 100% on, is that I'm not choosing at all. I have a friend of mine, Matt Quo. He is choosing games for me from my backlog, and then I have to go in and get the trophies in those games. And so after I finished Doom, he gave me my next game, which was Final Fantasy Type 0. And this is a game that I had purchased right when it came out. I bought like the collector's edition with the steelbook and everything. I even had a huge 5-foot standee. It used to sit in the back corner of the game room over there, of the main character of this game, because my, at that time, girlfriend worked at GameStop, so she got it for me. I got the collector's edition. I was really excited for it. I booted it up. Played like 20 minutes of it, popped a single trophy, and then never played it again. So when he assigned me this one to go like clean up, in reality, he was just saying, man, go play that game. And so this was really a first playthrough for me, my first legitimate attempt at running through and getting the platinum. And so I started out, you know, do a couple of these like miscellaneous things. Like I searched a couple of Imperial soldiers. That's just, you can like interrogate enemies in the game if you kill other enemies in certain ways, and they'll give you items that help you out. And then I completed Chapter 1 in the game. And then I got another Doom multiplayer trophy. So I was going for the 100% in Doom. And I don't know if this is going to be my last one, but I wonder if I can show this to you. Let's go to the Doom guide. Or no, the Doom trophies. So here's my trophy list. Pardon the like blinding white light that appeared. So you'll see I've earned like a whole bunch of these trophies, but I'm missing 2. I'm missing play a multiplayer match with a piece of Cyber Demon armor and with a piece of robot armor equipped. And so I am stuck at 43 out of 45 trophies in this game, and I probably always will be, or at least for a while, because the way that Doom multiplayer expansions worked is they came out, and I think that they unlocked some of this stuff for people to use, or it was more naturally in the progression of the game. Back when these were paid multiplayer expansions, you could buy like a battle pass and stuff. At some point, as Doom 2016 was going kind of end of life, and this is a good thing, you know, this is a, you know, kindness to the community. They made all of the multiplayer expansions and content completely free, and they also reworked the entire multiplayer progression so that across those 10 levels of prestige that I mentioned, you can unlock every single piece of DLC armor and content, which is great. The only problem is these 2 pieces, robot armor and Cyber Demon armor, you don't unlock your first piece of those until way late in the progression cycle. Like, I think for one of them you have to prestige like 7 times, and the other one you have to prestige like 9 times. So you have to play dozens and dozens of multiplayer hours in order to get these. And there's no, at this point, the game is very much in a run and maintain maintenance mode. They're not paying attention to this game's multiplayer at all for the 30 people that still play it. And so there's no like double XP weekends or anything where they can help you farm this. And so I opted not to, at least right now, spend the 35 hours playing more multiplayer, as fun as it is, because I didn't want to grind these 2 trophies out. It just would take too long. My hope is that at some point they will announce the server closure for this game, which sounds like a bad thing. But they'll announce the server closure for this game, and I'm hoping that when they do, they will crank up the experience gains. Because some games, some studios have done that before, where they're like, hey, we're going to take these servers offline in 4 months, just so you know, the game is going away. We've tripled experience gains until then, so you can just mess around, unlock everything, and have fun. That's what my hope is, that they're going to just at some point boost this up so that the grind wouldn't be quite as bad. Plus, if they announce a server closure, it will definitely reinvigorate people to come back and play the game again, and there'll be more like active boosting groups and stuff. So I think it'll just be better to wait. I did leave it installed on my PS5, and my thought is, maybe if I'm ever feeling it, have nothing else going on that night, maybe I'll pop in and play a couple matches, grind up 5-10 levels, and maybe over time I can get it too. So just a couple of silvers in DLC that I just won't have for some time. But anyways, we did that 10 enemies with the Cacodemon. And I think that was the last multiplayer trophy I earned in Doom, but we will see. It was, because after I unlocked that trophy, I was playing, me and my buddy, the same friend that assigns me games, Matt Quo. You can probably say hi to him in the comments. Great guy. He loves multiverses, and we were already playing multiplayer together. I was like, okay, let's just hop on and play some multiverses. Why not? They had relaunched this game a couple months ago after it went down for a while out of beta. And so we were just goofing around, and I popped a couple of trophies when hanging out with him. So, just kills for getting different, or trophies for getting different types of kills. Double ring outs, ring outs using your spike, ring outs with a projectile. For anyone that's never played multiverses, it's a platform fighter, so it's very Super Smash Brothers, but it, uses a bunch of like Warner Brothers characters. So you can play as Adventure Time characters and Batman and Scooby-Doo characters and all sorts, Tasmanian Devil, all sorts of stuff like that. And I wasn't even planning on working on this game. I was just kind of like on a lark. I was like, sure, it's already on my PS5. We have a little bit of time to kill. Let's just pop on and goof on some multiverses and maybe pop a trophy or 2. So we did that, we just hung out. Yeah, and I popped a bunch of them, actually. There's something weird with the stat tracking in this game where I think I had clearly already met the conditions for these, and they just hadn't popped. Because if you look at the timestamps, 20 ring outs with a projectile and 50 with a projectile, these popped at the exact same time. So I think that maybe in the past, because I'd played this game in the past, I had already gotten over 50 ring outs with a projectile, and the game hadn't counted it for whatever reason. So the first game where I got a single kill with a projectile, at the end of the game checked, and it's like, oh, you have 70 kills with a projectile, and it just popped both of these trophies. So I was getting trophies that didn't even make sense. So we kind of kept playing because I was like, this is kind of glitchy and weird. I'm loving these free trophies. But we had fun playing together. It's a pretty neat game. Then I am continuing the Final Fantasy Type 0 grind. It's actually a pretty straightforward game. There's only a couple of missable trophies, and they're pretty easy to like keep your eye out for. Otherwise, it's just a straightforward single-player game. I should say how the game plays. It's actually pretty fun. The game is kind of like a mission-based action RPG. So it's got like a central military academy that you spend time in. So, kind of like a hub Persona style, or maybe like Valkyria Chronicles 2 for those that have played that. You'll spend time in this military academy. You'll be able to like have conversations with different classmates from your own class and other classes. You'll be able to do little side quests. This is where you'll upgrade your magic and buy better gear and all that sort of stuff. You can do side missions and things like that. And there's a time system. All those actions take time, and then once the time ticks all the way down to 0, then it's like mission day, and you'll go and you'll do your story mission, and then you'll go back to the academy and do it all over again. When you're actually doing the missions, you will create like a group of characters, usually like 3 or 4 characters, and they'll get dropped into a level, and you'll run around in usually like cities or like warehouses or military bases, things like that. You're controlling your character third-person action style. You'll come up on enemies, and then almost Kingdom Hearts style, you'll have like a menu that you can choose attacks from, but the actual attacks are like real-time action combat type of attacks. So you'll have defensive attacks, magic attacks, physical attacks, stuff like that. And there's no main character in the game. There's 13 characters that comprise Class 0. And so you're choosing from a roster of those 13 characters when you deploy on a mission. And so there's just a huge variety in combat. You can kind of like find your favorites and build them up, buff them up, all sorts of stuff. It really is not it's a little grindy, but it's fun, I gotta say. If you like occasionally grindy, mindless games, you'll have a good time. And it's got a pretty good story. It's uneven. There's some real lulls in the story, but there's some really good parts to the story too. It is in the, oh gosh, what do they call it? Fabula Nova Crystallis, I think, world, which is the Final Fantasy universe that Final Fantasy 13 takes place in. So if you like hearing about l'Cie and, the focus of the crystals and all that stuff, you'll have a good time. But I just continued to grind through it, just did a bunch of random miscellaneous combat trophies. And all these happened all in chapter 2, I think. Like, these are all just like the low-hanging fruit trophies that I went and knocked out. You can tell from the completion percentage that they're pretty common. And then I got distracted, as many of us have, because my boy, Astrobot, came out. And I'm not going to spend time talking about every single trophy in Astrobot. I mean, it is what it is, right? But you can see I gobbled this game up. So I pre-ordered this game, and I'm sitting there staring out my window waiting for the post office to deliver my copy. 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 10 a.m., and it didn't show up. And at some point I'm like, I can't take this pressure anymore. And so I went out and just drove to Target and bought a physical copy from Target. And then I was like, well, I'll just return my Amazon copy, and then brought that home and played that one. And I'm glad I did, because it turns out my Amazon copy didn't show up until like a day and a half later. But yeah, what more can I say about Astrobot? Just a genuinely joyful, like contagiously positive kind of game. All the references to various Sony properties are obviously very nostalgic to me, and I feel like they were handled with care, with love and care, especially the levels focused around other games that you'll crop up and play. All the individual references are good, especially combined with the like gotcha things that add like little items or scenes to those characters that make them more like personal and more relevant to their original games. It was all just so much fun. Obviously, they knew what they were doing. The actual Platinum experience was a delight. If you have any interest in PlayStation's history, or you love a good platformer, you're going to have an excellent time. Astrobot truly cannot miss when it comes to games. The PlayStation VR game is one of the best VR games. The launch, Astro's Playroom was incredible, and now here we have Astrobot proper, and it's a legitimate Game of the Year contender. It is so freaking fun. So yeah, I gobbled that up. Took me like 2 days to get it, which is honestly pretty slow for some people. It was fun when I got it. Right now it's a 56% platinum. At the time when I got it, it was like a 2.3% platinum, and I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying my free ultra rare. But then it was obviously gonna, skyrocket up over time, which it has, rightfully so, because the game is just phenomenal. If you played it, let me know what you thought. I have not talked to anyone yet that did not like their time with Astrobot. I hope it sells well. I want nothing more than for them to demonstrate that games like this are financially viable. I think that Sony could really benefit from having more positive games in its catalog. I love a lot of Sony first party stuff, but they're so focused on like cinematic realism, stuff like Horizon Zero Dawn and Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima. They're all like gritty, serious stories. We need more Ratchet and Clanks and Astrobots. We need a return of Jak and Daxter. We need stuff like that. Stuff that's just a joy to play, playful, upbeat, fun for adults and fun for kids. I'd love to see that Sony come back, and I'd especially love to see weird Sony come back. I was a little bit like, the other hand, the other side of the coin playing Astrobot is they have some incredible deep cut references. Now, I don't want to spoil them for people because I want everyone to have like a fresh experience, and I think discovering some of those is a real treat. But there are games referenced in Astrobot that I absolutely did not expect Sony to remember in any way. Like, games that I feel like I'm the only one who's ever heard of. And so, if they remember all these weird, kind of off the beaten path games and they're willing to show them some love, I'd really like to see Sony get back to funding and supporting those games on a smaller scale with a lower, expected return. We need more PS1, PS2 era Sony weirdness, is what I'm saying. But phenomenal Platinum. Really loved it. And cannot wait to play the sequel to this game in hopefully 4 years, 5 years. And I'll definitely pop back in for the speedrun levels that they're adding here sometime later this year. So, very cool. Then I continued to grind through Final Fantasy Type 0. Really, there's not much to speak of for many of the trophies because a lot of them are just achieving specific combat encounters or doing specific, like, I don't know what you would call it, like completing levels in unique ways. So there's trophies for like beat a level with only 2 characters in your squad, stuff like that. And they're all, you can also replay missions at any point. You keep all your items and upgrades and levels and stuff, so it's very doable. So continue to work on that. All this happened before Chapter 2. So I just cleaned up a ton of different miscellaneous trophies in there. Then I popped in and played Super Beat Sonic. So for those that have been watching these videos for a while now, you know that rhythm games are kind of my like non-committal pop in, pop out, work on them over time games. So I've got DJ Max Respect going and Super Beat Sonic on Vita, both of which I just kind of chip away at the platinum slowly over time as I'm able. In fact, Super Beat Sonic has a very rare platinum. I don't know that I will ever be able to actually get it because you have to beat all the missions in World Tour mode, which that asks you to play games in or like a set of songs and meet certain conditions. So like, get 95% accuracy or, don't miss more than 5 notes. But the later missions get ridiculously hard. They ask you to play like the hardest songs in the game, and you're playing on modes where like the notes don't appear until the very last second, or, you have to get like ridiculous accuracy on some of the hardest and most complex charts. I actually don't think I will ever be good enough at that game to get it. But I do want to see how far I can get. I'm about halfway through the World Tour mode. And all these like key sounds and stuff, you'll just unlock those naturally as you play through. So, a little bit more Final Fantasy Type 0. And then what's this? Multiverses Returns? So, you can see I unlocked a bunch of different trophies here for getting ring outs with my spike, ring outs with a projectile, all sorts of various things. And then up here, give 100 toasts to other players, win 100 match-made games, 100 matches in a party. And then up here, I'm skipping past a bunch of just miscellaneous Final Fantasy Type 0 trophies. We get these big ones, 300 match-made games, 500 matches in a party, and then boom, the 2.25% ultra rare platinum in Multiverses. So what the heck happened that suddenly motivated me to go back and get this platinum that I wasn't even planning on? Well, when they relaunched the game, this was a multiplayer-only game. All you could do was just grind online matches. And so it was like a 100-hour grind to get the platinum. But when they relaunched it, they introduced these single-player sets of missions called Rifts. And they play very similar to the single-player campaigns in Smash Bros. So they're very like, like Subspace Emissary or... if you remember, like the Fighting Polygon team from the original Smash Bros, stuff like that. They're just single player things that you can do. You can unlock currency and cosmetics and things for your characters, but they're all done offline single player. Well, it turns out that those single player rifts all count as a match by the stat tracking of the game. And so rather than have to grind out 500 matches in an actual party, which would take, even if you were purposefully quitting out of matches, which would suck, it would still take like dozens of hours. You can just play the single player mode. You can just play through single player in a party. And so the game is on PC and PS5, and it is cross-play. And so what I did is I just took my PlayStation Portal. I made a party with myself on PC, and in that party, I would just play through the single-player campaign levels, and the quote-unquote PC player would just be player 2. They would just stand still. It didn't really change the difficulty or anything. So I was basically just playing through single-player as it existed, but in a multiplayer party. And that let me work on these trophies much, much more reasonably in a much more fun way. So I got my 300 match-made wins and my 500 matches in a party in a way more enjoyable single-player fashion. There was a little bit at the end of, like, grinding, like repeatedly doing the same mission over and over and over because it was the fastest one, but it cut way down on this like unnecessary grind that would have stopped me from getting the platinum, and it turned like 100-hour platinum into more like a 25-hour platinum, something like that. So yeah, somehow, I played single player in a multiplayer only game and I got its platinum. Then I moved on. This game just came out this year, Euphoria: The Saga 2. This is a sequel to a really old NES platformer that folks might remember. It never came out in North America, but it did come out in PAL and Japan. And it's called Euphoria, or the series is known as Habareke. It's a Sunsoft property, and Sunsoft is having this kind of like comeback moment where the company, with some of the original developers, has sort of risen from the ashes, and they are developing new versions of their classic games. And so Euphoria: The Saga 2 was one of them. And folks see behind me, or if you come hang out on the streams, I'm a huge retro game enthusiast as well. And so I was really excited for this. I bought the game, on launch, and I streamed my playthrough of it. I got most of the way through on stream, and unfortunately, kind of a whiff. Like, the game is okay. It's not a bad game by any means, but it's just really average in terms of a platformer. I feel like it is like slower and more monotonous, less enjoyable than the one that came out on NES. And it's weirdly grindy. So there's this trophy right here, Euphoria Aplenty. Collect 50,000 coins. The game, to play all the way through front to back, is probably a 3 to 4 hour game at most. I'd say 3 hours. To get 50,000 coins is a separate 2.5 hour grind that you are nowhere near completing naturally. And it isn't even like lifetime collection of coins. It is, you have to hold 50,000 coins at one time. So these other trophies for like learn everyone's hidden art, collect all the eggs from a vending machine, buy everything from the vending machine. A hidden art might cost 200, 300, 500, 1,000 coins. And that's just 1,000 less coins in your 50,000 inventory. And so there's like a few different ways you can basically farm this. I found one route that involved using kind of like this minecart auto-scroller. And optimistically, there was some variance. Optimistically, you would get like 70 to 100 coins per run. And a run would take 2 minutes. And so just doing that over and over and over and over again, it was absurd. It took so long. And so very womp womp. Like, the fact, a game having a trophy that takes just as long as the entire rest of the game combined is objectively a bad call. I don't know why they did it. But, I just put on some Netflix. Actually, we are rewatching Lost right now. We're on season 3 of our Lost rewatch for the Lost 20th anniversary. Comment out there, all my Lost heads. And so I was watching Lost while I was just kind of like autopiloting on my PlayStation Portal the inputs to get that done. So, is it a waste of my time? Yes. But at least I was enjoying some Lost while I did it. And we unlocked that platinum. It's a very common platinum because so few people own the game. So really only like retro enthusiasts or easy trophy hunters or Sunsoft fans have even bought this game. You know, the difference between Final Fantasy Type 0 with 150,000 owners versus Euphoria 2 with 122 owners, silly. So then back to Final Fantasy Type 0. This knowing tags one I had to grind out in Mission Select. It took a little while. And then just more of these chapters. And then, boom, complete Chapter 8. And we obtained all trophies. We got the Final Fantasy Type 0 Platinum. Really enjoyed my time with the game. I think I scored it like a 3.5 out of 5. Again, if you like grindy stuff sometimes, if you're okay... you know, just kind of going head down and just churning some missions out while you're doing something with your hands while you're doing something else simultaneously, or just kind of like low stakes, non-committal, low tension type of games, I think you'll like Type 0 quite a bit. Very fun. And you can do pretty much everything on the easiest difficulty if you want to. I played on the medium difficulty because, one, that's what I tend to play games on, and two, I think it just helped with a couple of the trophies. You unlock some unlockables that speed up a couple of the trophies, but otherwise it's not too bad. And then, new hot launch on PlayStation Plus, we have the Plucky Squire. So I was really looking forward to this game. I've been following the development of this game for a few years, and when it came to PS Plus as like a day one launch, I was like, oh, this is perfect, because I was already planning on buying the game. And so, popped it in, and I will say right out the gate that I did end up, and I don't usually do this, but I did end up following a collectibles guide from the outset, because it's really easy to miss collectibles in this game, and you don't really spoil much with a collectibles guide. Like PowerPix put one out that is really good, and it'll just show you like a screen, a shot of the collectible and where it is, and it'll give you like a short 2-sentence description. And technically that does spoil like the visual appearance of some areas, which is a spoiler, but this game, like a lot of the stuff looks kind of predictable or similar, and so I don't feel like it really gave anything away like some trophy guides might. That's not something I'll make a habit of, but for some reason I did it in this one because I had read that there's some glitchy trophies, and I knew that there was no way to go back and get them. There is a chapter select, but the game is currently glitched in such a way where you can't get all the collectibles in chapter select. They don't count. And so it's kind of like, what's the point of chapter select? And so I just said I'll just follow along and get, you know, most of them as I went through. I found most of them on my own naturally anyways, but there were a few I definitely would have missed. So the way Plucky Squire plays is it is a game where you are playing kind of a 2D Zelda-style game in a storybook. And then at various points in the game, you pop out of the storybook and do some 3D exploration. So sometimes it's looking kind of like Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and then you pop out and it looks kind of like the graphical style of like the Link's Awakening remake, but it's more of a like 3D space that you can explore. It's a really neat concept. There's not too much that's actually difficult to get. It's a lot of miscellaneous trophies for things like rearrange a sentence to make a cheese pillar. So as you play through the game, you know, storybook theming, you'll come across sentences where you can remove and replace certain words. So, you know, you come across a sentence that says like, you know, Jot was unable to proceed because of the broken bridge. And you can remove the word broken and then in somewhere else find the word large. And you could put that in and then it'll say, you know, Jot was able to proceed because of the large bridge. And you'll be able to get through it that way. And there's like certain kind of Easter eggy or like silly combinations that you can make, like a cheese pillar, that aren't helpful to let you actually proceed. They just let you do something funny. And so you just have to do all those. Those can be cleaned up in chapter select if you missed them. And then, yeah, the collectibles ones are all of the art scrolls and all of the glitch birds. Got all of those on my first playthrough. And completed adventure mode, which is kind of the main story mode, and got the platinum. So, my final thoughts on Plucky Squire, honestly, it's a bit of a letdown. It's a fine game. It's a very, like, average game, but it wasn't as fun as I was hoping, and my biggest complaint with the game, and this is my biggest complaint with almost every game I've ever played, is it does not stop talking. It is always talking to you. you will walk into a room, or I guess onto a page, and there'll be like a hallway, and there'll be a key halfway down the hallway and a lock at the end of the hallway. And before you can even control the character, they will say, oh my gosh, I'm like blasting you with light. Let's help you out a little bit here. Jeez. Before they will even let you move, they will say, oh, looks like there's a key over there. Let's check that out. And then you'll walk over to the key, pick up the key, and they'll stop you and they'll be like, wow, we picked up a key. I wonder if there's a lock nearby that we can use this key on. And then you'll walk closer to the lock and they'll be like, oh, look at that lock. I wonder if we can use that key we found. And then you'll use the key in the lock. It'll open it up and they'll be like, great job. That key unlocked the lock. Now we can proceed to the next area. And they just never stop doing that. It's like, let me explore. Let me make mistakes. Let me trial and error. Let me like play the game. Don't tell me what to do constantly. But they do. And it really kills the pacing of the game. I've heard a lot of people say that this is a great game for kids, which would make sense because they're like kind of holding your hand and the puzzles are very simple. But that surprised me because it's a Devolver Digital published game, so you wouldn't expect them to release like more of a kid's game. But yeah, not necessarily for me. It is not going to be one of my favorite games of the year as one might expect it to be. And so I got the platinum. I don't regret my time with it. It was a fine time. It just was not the banger experience I was hoping for. And then after finishing Type 0, the next kind of backlog platinum I was assigned to clean up from my buddy Matt is Tormented Souls. Incredible survival horror game that came out a couple of years ago. Massive appreciation, love letter, whatever you want to call it, to Resident Evil, Silent Hill style games. One of the best modern representations of those classic games that I've seen in a long time. And I played this game, you know, all the way through during one of my October streams, I think in 2022. And there's just a couple of trophies that I had not cleaned up. First is this Let the Shadows Consume You. That's actually like an easy death-based trophy. So in the game, if you stand in the dark for like 10 seconds without activating some kind of light source, you'll get killed, and I just had to do that. Then I popped over, played a little more Super Beat Sonic, just messing around, and then I did all of the main trophies here for Tormented Souls. So it has a very survival horror, a very Resident Evil style trophy list where you have to do challenge runs. So the big ones are you have to beat the game in under 3 hours, not use any health items, and complete the game without saving. This save only yourself is kind of like getting the bad ending, which I didn't do my first play. So a lot of guides will recommend combining all 3 of these into one run. That's too stressful, and honestly for my life with like, you know, work stuff can come up and a kid who can wake up at any moment. Playing through a speed run while also not saving is just too risky. Especially without any health items, because then if you make a mistake, it's like a permanent mistake for the whole run. And I was like, this is just going to take way too much time. And so I combined the speed run and the no health items, because then I could make like safe checkpoints as I played through and could like practice sections and then do that next section, etc. There are some great videos that'll help you know kind of like how to navigate certain rooms, and I honestly needed them to remind me what order to do stuff, because it's been a couple years since I played the game, and it's the type of game that it twists around on itself a lot. You know, it's very Resident Evil Mansion or, you know, Resident Evil 2 Police Station, where you're finding keys and items that'll let you access different areas that you'd previously been inaccessible, and so you're running back and forth a lot, and knowing the order to do that in can be really tricky. And so worked through that, and then I got my speedrun trophy and my no health items trophy, in addition to I got that bad ending because it's also the fastest ending. And then for the no save run, I actually did that in one of the actually the same evening or the same afternoon after I unlocked this one. So I completed these and I was like, all right, well, this is fresh in my mind. I have the time. I'm just going to knock it out. So I went and did another run to do the no saving run, and it really wasn't too bad. And then I popped the platinum, which feels pretty dang good. Now, for those of you with low moral standards, I will say that this game does have a debug mode, which I think is probably why some of these trophies are as high of a percentage as they are. I feel like they'd be lower if it didn't. But there is a debug mode that you can access by plugging a keyboard into your PlayStation that will let you basically pop every trophy in the game in like 20 minutes. Because you can jump to any scene, so you can jump right to an ending, pop the ending trophies, stuff like that. I didn't use that. I wanted to do the runs legit myself, but that is there if you're just like desperate for easy trophies or you don't care. You know, it's available to you, but I wouldn't personally do it myself. All right. Then I cleaned up. So this is actually a 100% in the game Operation Tango. If folks remember that, this was on PlayStation Plus a while back. It is a like asynchronous cooperative spy agent kind of game where there's one person who's kind of the eyes in the sky controlling and letting the agent know what's going on, and then the agent is on the ground relaying information back. It's very escape room where each person has different information and you need to be talking to solve puzzles, that type of thing. I played through that with my good buddy Rusty a while back. And then they released free DLC with challenge rooms, which we had played through a few of them in the past. But we spent the other evening here going through and earning the gold medal in all the challenges. We fought hard for it, all right? Rusty and I were both struggling at various points. Some of these gold times are pretty doable, but some of them are actually pretty strict. There's a few times where it seemed like, you know, it was going to take us a while to get it. But Rusty and I are both geniuses, and we were able to crush it. And so we earned a gold medal in all 10 challenges, which makes that now a 100% game again on my account. And then I was kind of in like that kind of puzzly mood, and there was an easy list I had yet to clean up, which is Escape Academy. This is another co-op escape room puzzle style game, not that different from Operation Tango. So if you liked Operation Tango, you should definitely check out Escape Academy. Escape Academy is a little easy, but it's a fun game. They've actually released multiple DLC packs. Not all of them have trophies, but one of them does, which is called Tournament of Puzzles, I believe. And it's interesting because it's kind of like a competitive escape room / single player mode, which is kind of neat. They give you a bunch of different scenarios and randomized puzzles, and the idea is that you're like racing to solve puzzles to meet some objective faster than your opponent. So like, you know, it might be like tic-tac-toe. So every puzzle you solve gives you a tic-tac-toe X or O, and you go place it on the board. And if you're the first one to make a tic-tac-toe, you win. It's a really fun idea. And then they also have these like time-based single-player escape trials that you can go do. Where there is no other person, it's just you racing to complete like, you know, 10 puzzles as fast as you can. And so there's trophies for beating kind of all of the different themed areas in under 10 minutes in that mode. The horse mask is like an item that you can give your opponent during one of those multiplayer matches in order to knock it out. And then it's just, a lot of these trophies are just like, play 10 total matches, 25 total matches, play 10 of each type of game mode, and then the last one I got was just play 50 total matches. And I was able to knock that one out as well. So this was a fun mode to go back to. This is another example of like, oh man, hunting DLC trophies can be a good time because you'll find stuff that is fun that you didn't even know existed, you know? Releases that the developer didn't have the marketing budget to really push. You had no idea they even happened, but I had a lot of fun going back and revisiting this game. And that pretty much makes us current. The most recent game I'm working on cleaning up is the DLC for Control. So I downloaded my old PS4 save, and I'm working through the first DLC now, the Foundation, and I just popped a couple trophies in that one, which brings us to modern day. I'm actually recording this a few days before the end of September because of how the timing for when the video will release works out. So next month's video will probably have a bit more of September sitting at the end. Yeah, that's what I have unlocked. If we go look at my profile real quick, you can see, yeah, we unlock, you know, we're back to 100% here on Escape Academy. Operation Tango completed in 3 years. Tormented Soul completed in 2 years. Final Fantasy Type 0 HD Platinum in 9 years, 5 months. You love to see it. So Been a really good month of trophy hunting for me. I would love to know what you are currently working on and what you got done in the month of September. If you stuck all the way to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a fantastic grind, and I will chat with you in another video. You take care.